You are now listening to the Fighting Back Podcast, and here's your host, Jessica Travis.
Hi, and welcome to the Fighting Back Podcast. This is episode 2, Understanding Stand Your Ground. And I am so happy that I am here with attorney Bridgette Williams. We are going to talk about Stand Your Ground together.
Yay!
But before we begin, I want to note that the client involved in this matter has given us permission to talk about his case. I also want to note that every case is different, and the outcomes we talk about today may not be the same for other cases. So before we get into the Stand Your Ground case, let's give a little introduction and tell the listeners a little bit about you. Can you introduce yourself, tell us your experience, where you went to law school, things like that?
Sure. I am Bridgette Williams, a proud attorney at Fighter Law. I went to law school at FAMU Law, and I didn't take the traditional route, so I haven't been a lawyer as long as my face looks, but I do have extensive experience in criminal law.
You don't look a day over 30.
Thank you. I'll pay you later. That's where I went to law school, and I do only criminal law.
Very nice, very nice. And I know all of the experience in your prior career before being going to law school and becoming an attorney has helped out tremendously.
Absolutely, it did. I started as a parole officer many years ago, and so I've always had a very keen interest in criminal law and criminal justice. And so although I haven't been an attorney for 30 years, I have a lot of experience in the field.
I know, and we talk all the time, and I am always amazed by your wisdom and by your life experience and just such a cool head on you and really like a great perspective about life, which is really cool. So now that we know a little bit about you, let's talk about this case. So we talked a little, this is a stand your ground case. What area of law really is that, kind of big picture before we dive in?
Well, of course, it's criminal defense, and it's a pre-trial motion. So it's basically to try to get you to not have to go to trial, to get the case dismissed before going to trial.
So going a little further, like what was this client charged with originally? Before the stand your ground, before all of that, like what were the charges and really what was at stake for this client?
So my client was charged with aggravated battery with great bodily harm, which is a second-degree felony.
That's really serious.
Right, and so a second-degree felony can get you up to 15 years in prison. And for this client in particular, this is a man who had no criminal history. And not only that, he was not born here. So especially in today's climate, it could have really ruined his life and everything he's gained everything he's done since he's been here.
Wow. So this is someone who's never been in trouble before, who's now looking at spending the next 15 years of his life in prison.
Very possible.
Wow. Okay. So tell us generally, what were the facts going on in this case?
So the facts of this case were that my client was charged with hitting someone in the head with a huge whiskey bottle. I guess I don't know my ounces, but the biggest one they sell.
Okay.
Hitting him in the head with that and causing severe damage to his face. And this guy also had cuts on his body, which he explained very differently than what the facts played out to be.
So this was a stand your ground. So there must have been some type of defense or things like that. What was the defense going on? Like, how was he defending himself?
So he was defending himself because when the facts developed, he always said that he hit the guy in self-defense. But the alleged victim claimed that he was just this innocent guy, and he doesn't even, at first the alleged victim said he didn't even know this person, and that this person just came into his house and then stole a bottle and hit him in the head with it.
So this other guy was lying to the police from the very beginning.
From the very beginning. And the police even acknowledged, like, this guy was sloppy drunk and all types of things. So it started off bad, but the state still filed formal charges against my client.
So it sounds like there's a lot of difference going on as far as what actually happened. Somebody saying this happened, somebody saying something else happened. Talk to me about what the legal issues are in this case as far as how stand your ground legally played a role.
So stand your ground is a defense that a defendant can use to show that what his actions were legal and he did it to protect himself or protect someone else.
So talk to me a little bit about that, because I know we, in the regular non-lawyer world, we talk a lot about defenses and how everything is a defense. But talk to me really about the difference between immunity and defense.
So a defense as far as like strategically defending your case or specific affirmative defenses?
Affirmative defenses, right.
So with stand your ground, if the judge finds that you met the legal requirements and were entitled to stand your ground or to that defense, then you are immune from prosecution.
Okay.
Which means you don't even get that far. You don't go to trial. The case is over. Whereas with other affirmative defenses, you're at trial and then you have to prove by a certain standard that you affirmatively defended yourself.
Because I know we just, in general, kind of throw around defense as far as like how we're going to defend our client versus like affirmative defense, which is like a specific legal term.
Right.
Okay, that makes sense. So when we're talking about when you first got the case and when you were talking with the client, what was your overall strategy in the beginning?
Well, I wasn't the first attorney on this case. I acquired this case from a different attorney. But when I met with the client, I believed his story. And not only did I believe his story, when I read the notes from the previous attorney, his story was consistent.
And made sense.
It made sense. Once I saw the evidence we had, I can understand somewhat if the state only had that one side of the story, why they went forward with filing charges.
The other guy lying to police?
Right.
Okay.
Right. And the other thing is when the offense occurred, my client didn't stick around to speak to the police because he went to the hospital.
Right.
Because he was also injured.
Right.
And so initially the police only had one side of the story.
So when we're talking about stand your ground, is there a particular motion or something that needs to be filed or a turning point in the case, in this case, that really was that definitive moment?
Well, there is a motion that needs to be filed, and it's basically called the stand your ground motion that we have to file. But after I reviewed all the evidence, and my client was very hands-on, there were witnesses to this event. He gave me their names. I interviewed them. And after I developed all the defenses that showed that my client actually was the victim, then I filed the stand your ground motion.
And you know, it sounds like there's a common theme because I've noticed with a lot of our cases, the clients that are really involved and that are helping, that are bringing forward witnesses are helping provide evidence and documents. That's really helpful in these kind of cases, right?
It is, especially in this type of case. Now, there are some clients who provide what they think is evidence, may not be so, but in this case, absolutely, all the information he provided and then the additional information I was able to get to confirm and support his position, it was helpful.
So how much preparation or work did you do before the stand your ground hearing, and was it helpful or important?
It was both. I did a lot of work. As you know, law enforcement officers have body-worn cameras when they interact with the public. And this one had quite a bit of body-worn camera footage. And each video could be an hour or so long. I think this one had 9 videos. So that was a lot of time put into just reviewing the videos and not just watching them to skim, to take detailed notes. And the alleged victim spoke Spanish, so the communication between law enforcement and that person was in Spanish, so I had to get that translated. So it took some time to develop the evidence, but what I realized is there is no way that the prosecutors had reviewed all that video, because some of the fight was caught. One of the witnesses recorded a bit of the fight, and that was critical in our case. The state hadn't looked at it because I had to almost file a motion to compel for us to get the video. So there's no way they saw it because they hadn't even provided it to us.
And that key piece of evidence, that footage showing what happened was really the difference, right?
Yeah, absolutely it was, because it showed who hit first. Okay. And that the injuries the named victim had were because he was punched in the face when my client was defending himself.
And it sounds like the only way that you got that key piece of video that really turned the case around was because of reviewing all of those videos and all of those hours and really digging into the case.
Absolutely. And as another example, the named victim, there were probably about 5 or 6 witnesses. A couple of people had been in the house with the named victim. Well, when it was time, when the police came, none of the people who were in the house with this named victim would provide any written statement. And so I deposed this.
They didn't see nothing. They didn't hear nothing.
No, and yeah, they didn't see anything. They didn't want to be involved. And so I deposed this victim, and I asked, so who were these people? Well, I don't really know them. And then I did more digging and found out that one of the people was actually this guy's former roommate of 2 years. And so, yeah, it just went to show how much this guy lied.
And I mean, it really does take that type of time and effort and digging in order to pull out the video that's going to be key, or pull out those pieces of evidence that are really going to be the turning points in cases.
And also interview the witnesses who are supporting your client's position to make sure they're credible, just to get their side of the story.
Yes.
And when we find out they're credible, to list them as witnesses. I think it stacks the deck against the state's case.
So when you originally spoke with the client, I think, from my understanding, you had this idea of, okay, this is a defense. This is going to be stand your ground. Right. And that strategy kind of stayed the same throughout the entire case.
Right, because everything I saw supported going forward with the stand your ground motion.
And the more digging you did and the more preparation you did, the more pieces of evidence that you found that really were there to prove that.
Right, and it kept me scratching my head with, why is this case still moving forward? Why are we getting closer to a trial date? Why is the state giving me prison offers?
Right. So what was the outcome? So how did it end?
So it ended because we were scheduled for a stand your ground motion at 2:30 on one day. And at 5:45, the night before the stand your ground motion, I got an email that the case was being dropped.
Wow. So it took on the eve of this stand your ground motion for the state to realize what was happening and get that no pros.
It did less than 24 hours before the hearing. The state finally dropped the case.
Wow. Okay. And you had given them all of the evidence, right?
Absolutely.
Like you had given them everything that they needed.
Everything they needed, at least a month. I think we got maybe 2 pieces of evidence before, and that was just some text messages to corroborate what my client said. But they had more than enough. I mean, if they had just looked at that video, as I said, the case should have been dropped then.
Wow. Okay. So this case being dropped, I mean, what did that really mean for the client?
It meant that he got his life back, that he would not be deported, that he could still apply for loans to buy his first home here.
So all charges went away. No more looking at prison time. Nothing like that.
Nothing.
Wow.
Right.
Okay. So that really was the difference between potentially going to prison for 15 years and getting your life back.
Right. Absolutely, it did.
Wow. That's huge. That is huge. So as we're wrapping up, I kind of want to just talk to you a little bit. For all of the listeners out there who aren't lawyers, what's one thing that you wish people better understood about these type of self-defense cases or stand your ground cases?
Well, I think it's important to make sure that our clients communicate with us honestly, provide all the facts, good, bad, or ugly, so that we can provide the best defense in the case.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, that's huge. Being honest, being open, and being thorough is really...
And not leaving out the details, because the facts matter. And so some things that we may initially feel is a stand your ground case, we find out about a fact that makes it not so much the case. Okay. So honesty is really important, and transparency.
And I always like to remind our clients that we have the attorney-client privilege.
Right.
That everything that they say to us and talk to us about is privileged.
Right.
So they can be open and honest with us, and everything can be protected as far as that honesty.
Absolutely.
So, what is there anything that you think people should be aware of, or have you heard people talk about how they assume these kind of cases turn out or how they go, and maybe something that you think that you should change their mind about?
Well, I think that a lot of people start asking non-lawyers about their case, the strengths of their case, and they sometimes are sold dreams. And every case is fact specific. There are no two cases that are absolutely the same. And so I don't think that defendants should believe that because someone else had this outcome, that person is going to receive the same outcome.
So it's always helpful if somebody is in a situation that they're charged with a crime or may have some type of self-defense claim to talk with an attorney about their specific situation, the specific details and facts of their case.
Right.
That makes sense. Well, as we wrap up, to our listeners, if you or someone you know is going through a similar situation and want legal guidance tailored to the facts of your specific case, give us a call here at Fighter Law. You don't have to go it alone. We have awesome attorneys like Bridgette, who is there to listen, to dig into the case, and to really help determine what's going on and what kind of defenses that you have. So, thank you so much for spending your time and taking your time today to talk with me about this case and about what you're doing. I know that you are busy and you got a lot of other clients that you are helping right now. So I want to let you get back to that, but I really appreciate you taking the time to be here.
Thank you. I enjoyed it.
All right.
All right.
Thank you so much for listening. If you found this episode helpful or informative, don't forget to follow us on social media and share this podcast with your friends. Like, follow, subscribe so you never miss a show, and help others know their rights by spreading the word. Your support helps us keep fighting back. The information provided in the Fighting Back podcast is for general informational purposes only and is not intended as legal advice. Every case is unique and should be reviewed by a qualified attorney who can provide guidance based on the specific facts and circumstances of your case. Listening to this podcast does not create an attorney-client relationship with Fighter Law or any of its attorneys. If you are facing any legal issue, we strongly encourage you to consult with a licensed attorney directly.